creativity takes many forms. And can be very satisfying, even if it doesn't turn into a piece of sculpture. There has to be something there that makes you want to look at it. You know, maybe you're looking because it's beautiful, maybe you're looking because it's disturbing, but that's where it starts.
Nice. Hey, Ms. Hollis. It is wonderful to have you here.
I'm very pleased to be here, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you. So, can you start us off with a brief introduction?
Okay, I'm not sure how far you want me to go back, but I'm an East Coast girl. Came up from New Jersey way back in 1969 to go to school at Rhode Island School of Design. And stayed. Providence in that early 70s period was very active for artistic, well, I guess it always is, but that particular period, there was a lot going on. Tried to start an artist union, got a commission to make a sculpture garden. Mostly I was a waitress. Started working in the commercial sculpture area, making small, gifty kinds of things. Met a guy, he's a blacksmith, so he was pretty handy to have around because he could make the armatures for some of the sculptures I was making. And he also made the pedestals for these pieces. So that's been a major point of enjoyment throughout my life is working with my partner. He's terrific. He was working as a blacksmith in Newport, so I moved to Newport. And we started a life together. Trying to make a living as an artist is tough, as I suspect you will find out if you don't already know. And I got a job at Hasbro as a sculptor. I worked there a couple of years in-house and then decided to go freelance. That offered me the opportunity to maybe do some sculpture at home and also have a couple kids. So the next several decades was raising a family and squeezing in some work in my own studio for myself. That was a rare thing, unfortunately. But what I discovered over the course of that time is that creativity takes many forms and can be very satisfying, even if it doesn't turn into a piece of sculpture.
So since how long have you been working?
As an artist?
Yeah.
Probably since I was 6. Do you mean working for money?
Or like being an artist? So that's a lot of years.
Yeah, I think it was a focus from the get-go. As long as I was always making something. This is very typical of people who feel the arts as a calling, that it's something that establishes itself very early on. I considered archaeology at one point. I considered teaching at another point. I considered, being a dancer, but those were all 6-year-old fantasies, and it didn't take long to realize that this was going to be the way that I wanted to be in the world, is making primarily 3-dimensional work, and also I love to draw.
I started liking art around the same age, actually.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I also wanted to be an artist, but unfortunately, I understand now that it's going to be very hard for me to become successful. So,
yeah, that's a whole other question. What does it mean to be successful as an artist? To be able to make a living as an artist is very rare. It's a very rare outcome.
It depends on the purpose of how you define art, like whether it has to please the audience or not. Do you think a good piece of art? Do you think a good piece of art should the main focus be the artist himself, or should it be making money at the audience?
No, I believe in the former, because if you're pleasing someone else, you may as well be a commercial artist. Maybe one can cut it both ways and do a certain percentage proportion of your artwork that is more palatable to the public and is easier to sell, and that can be used to allow you the time and the materials to do your own work that maybe is different from what people are used to or are willing to spend money on.
So how do you say you would find a balance for your work?
My balance took the form of working for a career and then retiring. So now I can make whatever I want. I don't feel the pressure to sell the stuff, although I'd be perfectly happy to. But I don't need to sell this in order to make it. If I were funding other work by selling this stuff, probably I would make something in bronze. I would make something bigger. I would make a piece, the helmet hut. I would love to see that large enough so that you could sit in that chair inside that helmet.
Wow.
Yeah, that piece is a maquette, which means I would like to see it larger. It's trying to be large enough for some distance.
Talking about these prices, may I ask what is the overall price range of your works?
Oh, that's a really hard question. I would say $2,500 to $7,500.
That's an interesting range. What is the main focus of your artwork? What's the meaning or themes that these sculptures have in?
They come from an observation that I have made about the forms that humanity makes for war. So it caught my eye in a trip to the Tower of London, this magnificent series of halls full of armor. Helmets, full suits of armor, armors for horses.
Oh, I've seen these in the
lances. Yes, it's just magnificent examples of what people can make. And it just shook me that they would go to that extent to make the finest things they could make for people to go to war. And I understand that, I don't understand, but I get it that you go to war and you wear this thing, and if it's fine enough, you don't get killed, you get taken for ransom. So that's one way that people in power can distinguish themselves when they are in war. This helmet over here is the helmet of the lowest of the low soldier. Oh. Yeah, it's a late 14th century Italian helmet. Anyway, it's the helmet of the serfs.
So the chariot is their metaphor for that?
Yes, I think it's the sort of thing that everyone can wear, except the big guys. That chair that sits inside that helmet hut is not for the generals, it's for the rest of us to sit in and think about why someone would need us to have this protection.
Why did you focus on the creation of lives in two pieces of sculpture?
That's a good question. The Fire and Forget piece, it just seemed like the lake really offered me the opportunity to connect both a human being with a missile. So again, we are the humans who create this weapon. You can't separate the two. And there's a lesson there that for me is easier to portray as a visual item rather than in words.
Yeah, I think using limbs is a very powerful way to convey humans like labor and stuff. Like I've done that a lot in my paintings.
Mm-hmm.
It's like very vivid and powerful.
Yeah, it's hard to miss the message when you're. It's kind of like looking in a mirror.
What about your paintings?
Oh, the paintings were a complete surprise because I really don't paint. And when I did the Fire and Forget piece, I used an airbrush for the first time to try and get some metallic sense to it, but then it sort of morphs into a little bit of gangrenous feeling down towards the toes. But I really enjoyed using the airbrush, so I thought I would try painting with it, thinking that it would be easier than making a sculpture, which was very foolish on my part because it was really hard. The paintings, they, you probably have encountered the situation where forms come to you. You don't know where they come from. It sounds very mystical, but that's just how it is. So I had some basic forms that were those orbs, and started messing around and tried to put down in sketch form some various compositions, and then developed from there. And then there are aspects that refer to both cartographic war games, the way that generals plan out a battle with a map. There's that, and then there are references to weapons there as well.
Is there a specific reason for your use of mixed texture like smoothness and cardboard and like the different colors?
The paintings are, I use stencils for the paintings. So I take a piece of film and cut out a shape. And then as you build up the paint, it has a textured effect to it. That was actually a surprise to me that was going to happen. I liked it. And, the piece over here that has the heads on it, that painting started as an exercise. I was trying to imitate the freedom that my granddaughter has when she creates art. She just takes a pencil and she draws. She just takes a pair of scissors and she cuts out shapes. And I thought, there are no filters there. She's just making these things, and they always seem beautiful.
Yeah, even Pablo Picasso copied from children, I think.
Well, I think every artist would like to be able to do that. But in fact, it's really hard. I did some cutouts of very stylized soldier shapes and lances. I have been fascinated by Renaissance paintings that have these furious battles in the front with swords and lances and all kinds of horses, and everybody's falling down dead and fighting one another. And then in the background, there's this fabulous, bucolic, peaceful landscape, like nothing is happening back there. It's just life's going on. So I was trying to recreate a little bit of that in these paintings. But as I worked on them, the bucolic part kept disappearing and the battle part kept expanding to the entire frame of the painting. So that painting with the very stylized soldiers trying to recreate a sense of war games, the war games that you play in video games, which I'm completely not of, but I know they exist.
I've definitely seen some very horrifying substances in those paintings, like the heads and the spikes.
Yeah, those lances. And those were also some really enjoyable and frustrating at times attempts to learn about color. Because generally speaking, with color and sculpture, I don't use a lot of color, but having to make a painting was a whole different story for me. It was pretty exciting.
They turn out really nice.
Thank you.
Very contemporary too. Are there any artists in particular that you like or has inspired you on this way of creation?
These particular, you mean in terms of the imagery or the technique?
Like ideas, textures, imagery, style.
Well, I can tell you the sculptors that I like are mostly from the early part of the 20th century. There's a figurative sculptor, Ellie Nadelman, who I really like. There's Giacometti has done some really great, interesting stuff. Not as figures so much, but as the Palace at 4 a.m. and something called the Nose, which is a head that sort of hangs within a structure and has a head of nose. What else? Giorgio de Chirico, the painter, who does some sort of, they're called metaphysical, and I honestly don't know what that means in any way that is easy to describe, but he does like piazzas that are empty of people, but have these small, maybe a fountain or just a tiny indication that humanity is somewhere, and then arches.
That's really cool. My next question is, why did you choose to do exhibition specifically at St. George's? Like, what's special about doing it here? Especially with like a bunch of students coming to view this.
I love that the students are here. This is a very special space. I love this space. My work looks great in it. I love that the students are here. I hope that they look and ask questions and wonder. Yeah, this is a great spot. I won't sell anything here, but that's what I said. I don't know. I doubt it. There were a lot of people here at the opening, so maybe.
Yeah, I actually came to see you during the opening at the start, but like it was crowded. So I again came at the end.
It was really crowded. Thanks for coming back.
Congratulations. It was very successful.
Yeah, thanks.
How do you think your style has evolved over the years?
Oof. Boy, that's a hard question. I don't know how to answer that. I feel like it maybe is getting a little looser, but the piece I'm working on now, yeah, you got me there.
Okay.
Come back next time, next show. We'll see.
What do you think are the standards for a good piece of art, especially for modern art?
I think you're going to have to look at it. There has to be something there that makes you want to look at it. And if you're going to look at it, then you'll think. And that's the whole point. You know, maybe you're looking because it's beautiful, maybe you're looking because it's disturbing, but that's where it starts.
So many artists create things and then they like have this whole deep story about how they care about the world. But do you think like a good piece of art should have like a deep meaning, or should it stand alone if it's a good piece of art?
There are no shoulds. You know, there's just, that's the whole point. If it's art, it can be. It's so fantastic that there are so many people in the world who feel like they have to make stuff, whether it's pot holders or monumental art. It's fabulous. And to have the desire to make something and then actually have the wherewithal to make it, that's, to me, the point. The should part is somebody else's sense of obligation, not the artist's.
I think you have heard that AI has recently climbed higher and higher, and then like it's actually it's going insane. Like those AIs nowadays can like paint realistic paintings and give people ideas. What do you think about incorporating that into your work? And do you think that's gonna like one day overtake us? Like, will artists lose their jobs because AI are so fantastic that they can recreate what we can create in like a few minutes?
I think AI is already taking artists' jobs. I think AI is the devil. All right, I'm overstating it. It's so wonderfully useful. Yeah. I love it in science and medicine. I'm not convinced it's a great thing in defense or weapon systems. I think in art, it's too easy to take from what everybody else has already made. I think that's a real problem. It's disturbing to me.
My opinion is that even though it can recreate these stuff, it can actually never overtake our humans things, because you have to input some ideas and they can only generate off of what others create. So a true artist should have ideas from their minds.
I agree entirely.
But also a lot of artists nowadays, they use the convenience of AI to generate stuff. So like they save a lot of time and create more stuff.
Yeah.
And that is a trend. So like I think a lot of artists are doing it. So I feel very unfair and unjust.
Yeah.
In this already very like skewed art world.
Well, I agree with you. The people who are trying to make money have always looked for ways to make more money using less, giving less representation and remuneration to the artists whose work they're taking. And this will just snowball because this new tool will allow that even more. So,
a very deep question.
Okay, ready.
What do you think is the purpose of art?
Oh. Personal satisfaction, even though it can be incredibly frustrating. I think it's one of the purest evocations of what humans are here for. Not that they're here for something, but they're here. We are here, and making stuff up and making it into physical shape or oral shape or literature is one of the best things about humanity.
Talking about modern art, like as we all know, it's like super diverse. There's like Saitwangli and Pollock, all these like styles just conjuring. What do you think about the diversity of this modern art world? Like, what's your opinion of it?
The more the better. I mean, any artist who can come up with stuff and, the scribble, if it's a sincere scribble and not a scribble just to yank out someone's chain, I may have to take that back. Are you familiar with the toilet?
Yeah, Duchamp.
Yeah.
Duchamp.
That's kind of a scribble. I mean, that's a here in your face. Let's see how we can push this idea of art.
Well, he was in a special historical background that made him do these. Like, that was like a trend at the time, but now I don't think artists can do it anymore because so many people have been doing it and it's no longer the right time.
Well, there are plenty of people who make stuff that it's just not the right time. And generally speaking, they have to die.
Yeah.
And then the time comes around.
But do you like these artworks in the modern world? Like, the scribbles or the abstract or surrealism or anything compared to like classical art, like those realistic ones? Which one do you think is better for you?
Yeah, I think it just depends on me. I'm open. I'm open. I appreciate the work and the skill and the hard work that it takes to learn how to have that skill. I really appreciate that. I have some frustrations, for instance, with designing three-dimensional objects on the computer screen, because I don't get it. I don't understand how you can read 3 dimensions when you're limited to 2. That's not the question you asked. I like to see what people are making and what they feel the need to make.
If there is a one-word definition, which one is that?
Oh, don't do that to me. All are better.
Okay. Very objective answer. What do you think is going to happen to the art trend in the future? Like, I was talking to my friend, like, whether it would go back in time, like, whether it would be more realistic and more classical, or will it be more diverse? But we're thinking, like, how can it be more diverse? Because it's already, like, at top right now. So we really don't know what's going to happen, especially with AI coming in.
Right. That's you're just going to have to live and find out, because it will go back and forth, and it will change. I really don't know. If AI becomes so good at doing realism, for instance, maybe artists will rebel against that and do things that are looser and wilder and less realistic.
But isn't it already, like, very wild right now?
Compared to Renaissance paintings, yes. There don't seem to be any rules, is that what you mean?
But you think there's going to be more potential for art to be more, like, diverse?
There will always be that, yes. I do think that.
My last question is, how do you envision the future direction of your art pieces?
I was just wondering that last night. I think this particular theme has a lot more in it that I'd like to explore. And I think the next year at least there will be that. And beyond that, it's really hard to say. You know, one of the reactions that people have had coming in here and seeing the references to war, they'll say, oh, it's so timely. And my response is, it's always timely. It's been timely from the beginning of humanity that we feel the need to attack them. So I don't know when I will feel like I have said all I have to say about that. Or if that will morph into something a little more optimistic. I kind of hope so.
Oh, how long does each piece typically take?
Oh, God, way too long. Yeah. When I was in the toy industry, I had deadlines constantly. And being retired has offered me the freedom of 2 things. One being, no one tells me what to make. And the other being, I can take as long as I like to make something. But the reality of that is that it takes me longer than I would like, so I gotta step it up. So some of these pieces took the better part of a year. Yeah, that's
a lot of dedication.
Yes.
It's really rare to see artists so focused on one piece of work right now.
Yeah, they've been fascinating. I've learned so much about if I'm trying to work on Fire and Forget and I start learning about missile systems and missile systems in different countries around the world and the history of missiles, and it just goes on and on. there's all kinds of things to learn about. I'm learning about camouflage. I'm learning about how there's a whole subculture of people who paint rifles, subculture, air paint, blasters. No, I mean people who they shoot paint.
Oh,
What's that called?
I don't know. That's it.
I don't mean for art. I mean to pretend battles.
Oh.
So they have rifles that are loaded with paint, and they go into like a field, an arena that's a pretend forest, and they hide behind trees and try and shoot each other with paint.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, the world is full of, you look outside your bubble and you get
So diverse, right?
yeah.
All right. That's it. That's all the questions I have.
Tell me what kind of painting you do, or artwork.
I actually started at around the same age, so I've been doing it for more than 10 years. I mainly do oil painting. I used to have a very fixed mind about art should be traditionally made, like it should be the classical way, and I despised modern art. But that was before I came to the US. After I came to the US, I came to the realization that art can be diverse, and it's not. A lot of artists do put in their heart and their efforts to create art that's diverse. It's not like a shortcut to art. So after I came to the US, I decided to explore more on my art. So I started exploring on oil painting, but like less realistic. I viewed a lot of artists, like I really like Francis Bacon or Dali. Like these artists really inspired me. So after a lot of experimentations, I developed my own style. It's like a blend of surrealism or abstracts. They are painted on very large canvases, and they're a really good way to kind of convey my heart, better than like the traditional paintings I did before. So I'm very glad I came to the US and learned so much more about art and artists.
Fantastic. So have you been to the Metropolitan Museum in New York? It's a magnificent place, huh?
It was. So the modern art section was.
Yeah, well, that's why they have two museums in New York.
Yeah.
You get to go to the Museum of Modern Art too. And then 8,000 other ones, but yeah.
Yeah, the art galleries are fascinating.
Yes, I agree.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Thank you for being here today.
That's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.